Good morning and welcome to our solid waste session number 4, Zero Waste Infrastructure. I will be your host and moderator, Ruth Abbey from Zero Waste USA. Our first speaker is Mr. Richard Anthony from Zero Waste International Alliance. Richard has over 40 years of experience in recycling resource program management, and he is also the chairman and founder of the Zero Waste International Alliance and serves on the board of the National Recycling Coalition in the US and Zero Waste USA.
Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Anthony. I'm the chair of the Zero Waste International Alliance and vice president in charge of advocacy for Zero Waste USA. The lecture today will be the components of a zero waste system. We call it zero waste infrastructure. So when we look at a zero waste system, or we look at a discard system, or in your community, or in your factory, or even in your home, we could see things in terms of upstream and downstream. Upstream's before you discard it, downstream after you discard it. I like to say upstream is prevention, downstream is recovery. So on the prevention side, upstream, we talk about clean production. What that's all about is you run your factory or your home without any waste. It's a clean production. It's a matter of figuring out what you're buying and how you're using it, where the markets are, and making your vendors responsible, and then setting up your production line so that there is no waste, or that any kind of discard from the production line is captured. The president of Johnson & Johnson was a family-owned company. When he went to look at his factories, he started at the trash cans in the back because he had bought that material to make a product, not to throw away and have to pay for disposal in a landfill or incinerator. So clean production is the key. You look at how you live and you organize your production so that you don't create waste. Secondly, if you produce a product that is going to become waste because it's a single-use product, it has to be redesigned. The planet cannot take single-use products if there's no, especially if there's no recycling system for them to be recovered or returned. So we're looking to have companies, one, take responsibility in having minimum content of recycled material in their product and redesigning that product for reuse and recycling. Very important in terms of getting to zero waste. And finally, the pride and the leadership in doing this, getting the board of directors to pass a zero waste goal and a mission, and then really important to me, training your facility managers to understand what that means. This is all about product stewardship. So downstream, once you've changed the way you do things, and there's still going to be a discard, and primarily it's in the home, but it has to do with the businesses as well. Reuse would be number one. So whatever you have, rather buying paper plates or plastic throwaway single-use products, you buy ceramics and linen. Use linen instead of napkins. These are part of sustainability, and it'll actually save you money in the long way because these single-use products cost you money that you never recover, where one time you buy a ceramic cup, you can use it 1,000 times. Second piece is that composting, half of, and we'll show later on, half of what we generate as a discard is compostable. Doesn't need to go to landfill, shouldn't go to landfill. Historically, never went to landfill. Usually the garbage pail was the pig farmers. He would collect it and feed it to his pigs. In the 50s or 60s, somebody decided that it was causing trichinosis and they needed to be boiled, and we moved to landfill and incineration. Big mistake in the world today. We need this organics. These organics are part of the nature's system and need to be going back to the soil. The other part is the recycling. Again, if it's metal or glass or paper or plastic, it can be recycled once you figure out what material type it is. And then this material can be recovered and sent back for making the new products. And finally, especially well, in families as well, a lot of people just don't have garbage collection. They have to handle their own materials. We want to create resource recovery parks, typically maybe out of transfer stations or even at landfills, where there's a capability of people to bring in source separated materials and put them in the right container so they can get back to the place where they need to go to be recycled or composting. So resource recovery parks. Again, our presentation will go into all these things, and you'll see some examples. So I talked about a little bit about your discards, and over time, as 50 years in this business and not being an engineer in an engineering company, when the first projects came out in the 70s to figure out what was in garbage, they of course assigned the recycler to figure this out. And we did sorting at landfills all through California, and actually I sorted behind buildings all over the country for EPA on the office paper program, and we basically established that. Uh, these materials are being generated in categories. And in order to evaluate what these materials were worth, as I looked to citing a new landfill, would say, well, if they recycled all that stuff, what would it be worth? I had to put a price on it. So we, with the help of Dan Knapp, who sociologist who came up with the 12 market categories, basically these are items where if we had it all one type, we could sell it. And let's talk about them. There were textiles, these are clothing, and I'll get into the details: polymer, plastic, reusables, chemicals, metals, glass, ceramics, things that crumble like rocks. That's ceramics. Paper, I got a little division there only because there's high grade newspaper, cardboard, writing paper, and then there's low grade tissues and napkins. The low grade paper are organic, it's fiber, they're compostable, they bulk in a composting system. You add wood and soils and putrescibles, which are food, and plant debris, and you got a great local compost. And note that in the chart, when we look at the chart and the components, half of what you generate is organic. This material should never go to landfill. It creates leachate and methane. It should go to a farm and made into soil. God knows we need to conserve water and create better soil to feed our people. So when you look at these 12 market categories, when we did the sorts, we started off with I think 17, and then we got to the 80s when we were sorting, we got to about 50 categories, and then in the 90s it was about 75, and today I think they get close to 100 categories, but they do it. They're comprehensive and scientific. And then what we'll do is we'll take all these sorts and see what they are, and we'll put them under market categories. So anything that can be resold or recycled, we see it as a reusable: appliances, textiles, books. Paper, we see in terms of paper, cardboard, and newsprint, high grade magazines, these office paper, paperboard, composite paper, plant debris, leaves and grass and prunings, branches and stumps, putrescibles, food discards, both scrap and edible. We want to try to, in California, we're trying to capture the edible food. I will say that during this pandemic, there aren't many buffets open anymore, and so less edible foods is being created. So maybe a takeout's the answer, but the increase of single-use products has been oh incredible. So food waste, fish and meat waste, and sewage sludge are all things that can be a component to a good organic compost. Wood, untreated and treated. Treated wood is one of the things we don't have a market for, and we don't want to burn. We might the dry tomb landfill with no organics might be a place to hold it. Ceramics, concrete, asphalt, soils, gypsum and fines, metals, of course. If you took all this metal together to a scrap dealer, I estimated 50, maybe 100, $200 a ton, because with a magnet, he will get the steel cans out, and then he has aluminum and non-ferrous metals, and there's a lot. It's amazing how much is in uh, discards. It's just unbelievable. Clear glass is by far the most saleable, but green and mixed can be sold to companies that use color glass for their products. Window glass does not work in the glass. It has to be separate. It can be recycled, but it has to be separate. Textiles, polyfiber, cotton and wool. Cotton and wool, big market for that. Absorbents, reuse. Polyfiber is more and more growing in terms of reuse and recycling. Now they're finding that they can make new products out of it. Polymers, which are plastic, well, we know number one, And number two, plastics are pretty valuable, and uh, and they have a huge market on the international scale. Polypropylene is another. And go as companies start to redesign and use minimum contact, these resin types are going to be more valuable. Today, the 3 for 7s have marketing issues, and we need to let the polymer and the oil companies know that. Tires can be ground up and used for roads, and asphalt can be ground up as well. Uh, Chemicals, well, these don't get buried in a landfill, and you don't want to burn them in an incinerator. So you need to have a resource recovery park or some ability to take back the chemicals that we find. We make in California, the auto dealers who sell out the oil have used oil recycling programs. There's a deposit on the oil can that covers it. Same as paint is done the same way. Household hazardous products have to have opportunities, and most cities have hazardous waste facilities. I'll show you one. Um, Medicine has to go back to the pharmacy. Same thing with the sharps, battery and lights where you bought them. So these are your 12 categories, and you're looking to me and saying, okay, these I understand what you're saying, Rick, but there's no way that anybody's going to separate in 12 market categories. And actually, that's not true. There are little cities in Japan where have transfer stations, and they make you sort in multiple categories, and people do it. In a small town, you can get that. But basically, if you look at the way people behave, you could put the paper and containers in one bin. We in California, around the country, England, Europe, the blue bin is primarily for paper and containers because a magnet pulls out the steel and the 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 paper is blown off, and then the non-ferrous is left on with glass. The eddy currents pulling the non-ferrous. There's lasers that pull off the plastic, and typically these MRFs, materials recovery facilities, run with less than 15%. The one we ran in San Luis Obispo was down to 3% residual. And a lot of it was just broken glass and bottle caps, which we're now finding markets for. So paper and container in one container. Organics in the second container. Food, vegetative debris, food dirty paper, um, plant debris, putrescibles, wood, all in one category, taken to a farm, ground up, and made into compost. Reusable items, again, never should hit the landfill. I advocate a separate pickup once a month or so, or whatever. On call probably works as good. I sat on the truck with a guy from LA with his clipboard picking up stuff from the side of the curb, and in most cases it was there. In some cases, the local entrepreneurs beat them to it. But things like furniture, appliances, clothing, toys, tools, reusable goods, textiles, need to be recovered and need to have opportunities other than a landfill or incinerator. Same thing with edible food and gleaning from farms. We need to set up systems to capture that edible food and get it to the homeless or the people that need them. A lot of the world is starving, and it's a tragedy. It's a crime that edible food would ever be destroyed and not shared. And finally, your special discards. This is your resource recovery park stuff. Again, this is once a month or once a year where you clean your garage, or maybe you're doing a remodel job. At this point, you or your contractor is going to take it to a facility. Want to have the ability to have that recovered, and I'll show you some of that. So, an example of reuse and repair on the top left, this is just a big materials warehouse. This is on the East Coast. It's sheltered here. In the West Coast, pretty much a lot of this stuff is outside. But if you need a door or a chair or a table, or like the most popular item in these facilities are designer jeans and good reusable clothing, because people throw in high end stuff. I know Terry McDonald from St. Vincent de Paul, he buys all his used clothing from Southern California. We just have a higher end on clothing, and it sells really well up in Oregon. Uh, Wood is another piece that we don't want to waste. The Habitat for Humanity, which are big stores, do reuse wood. They have guys who come in who basically rate the wood to be usable, and then you buy it and it's cheaper. And sometimes think about that. There's hardly any hardwood left on the planet. Maybe the only place you're going to recover hardwood is through a reuse store. Uh, a good read story is this, the Last Chance Mercantile. This is up in Monterey. It basically, bottom left, if you come in the door, you stop right there and you drop off all your reusables right there. When we do tours there, we find that the vendors are waiting for these materials. A lot of this stuff never gets in the shelf, and we're talking items like old sinks and doors. And I know that a friend of mine was rebuilding his home in San Francisco. It's an old Victorian home, 100 years old, and couldn't find a toilet that would fit the mounts, and went to Urban Ore, and there it was. Creates urban the concept creates um, opportunities for both construction, people to find things that they need, and for people who are looking for local stuff, and a place to discard things that are valuable. I'll show you some of that later. Recycling here, this again, we saw this picture of Santa Monica. You see the bales. On the top left is their sorting area. Uh, on the top right is the Cal State Long Beach Buyback Recycling Center. We started 50 years ago, and still operating up until the pandemic. Nobody's back at school to run it right now. Hopefully it'll start up again. The one other piece I'd like to talk about, two pieces. One, the bottom left, is that we need to make sure that our containers have pictures of what we want, both in English and a second language. I say that by putting a recycle on a container without any information, you're going to get almost everything. So when you really want to show people what you want, and some people like pictures, some people like to read, so you do both. On the right side is a what I call, it's a primitive resource recovery park. I'll show you a more sophisticated one later. But this one here, everything is dumped down on the ground. We use K-rail and bunkers to place it in there. And so as you can see on the right side, you can see the car discharging his organics into the area. And then when he drives out, we'll take a look at it, and if it's clean, we use a little front loader and put it into that roll-off bin. There's a front loader you can see in the middle, and the roll-off bin's right next to it. So this is a way to reduce contamination and control what you have. Typically, people use pickup trucks, and so it's gravity works better than having to make them lift it up and put it into a bin. I like this idea of a resource recovery park. Composting, excuse me, composting. You see that on the bottom right, it's what we did in San Diego to encourage the green separation, and we implemented yard waste collection throughout the entire county in the mid '90s. And the way we did it is that we just halved the price. I mean, it was $60 for trash and $30 for organics, and all the haulers said, yes, I can do that. I make money going house to house, not driving to the landfill. And the more I get, the more volume I get, the better it is for me. So we would collect it in these areas, and you can see it was pretty much clean. There's some mistakes, but there's somebody there watching it. From there, it goes to the top where you can see there's a grinder, a tub grinder that's grinding it up, and then from the grinder, we're putting it in a trommel, which separates the lights from the heavy. And what you get out of it is these windrows on the bottom. This is ground up organic material, and we use a scarab which straddles these windrows and turns it and waters it and makes soil. In areas where they have air pollution issues or airboards that are hard, up in San Jose, these are airbags, and basically it's there. You can see at the end they're injecting air in the bottom of these things. The bags are slit a little bit so that the thing doesn't blow up and pop, but the bottom line is it captures 98% of all the emissions, and what comes out of it is a good soil ready for compost. And then on your special discards, one thing we found early on in the sorting was that rocks were going in the landfill, and a lot of it was because we charged by the quantity of the bin rather than the weight, because we didn't have scales. But once scales got in and we start charging by the ton, it was in the interest of the contractor to find another place to put the concrete. Uh, what has happened now is that most concrete is left on site, ground up, and used right in the next building that's going to be happen. No public works director, when in California, where there's a $50, I'm sorry, $10,000 a day fine for not making the 50% will ever put rock in the landfill again. That's 12% that is part of his 50%. I was talking about household hazardous waste facilities. This is one in San Luis Obispo. It's well signed. You can bring things in to be recovered. And actually, they have a storeroom where they have paint and pesticides and other materials that are not empty that you can take. So it's sort of a swap. The other piece was when they banned TV sets from the landfill, we found that we could take them apart and we could sell the components to the industry for melting because there's gold and palladium in those components, and the leaded glass was valuable to the computer industry. And finally, on demolition of buildings, we learned that bricks were worth about $1 a piece. So why would you just, when you take down a building, we like to see you pull down all the metal and save the framing, get the bricks. What you have left is painted drywall, which we don't know what to do. But we could steam off that paint and get the gypsum. We could do that. All these are cost money, but when you look at survival on the planet, it's the way we may go in the future. So when we talk about resource recovery parks, we were in England turn of the century and talking about zero waste. And Maxine Narbo came from Suffolk Connect, and I got together and said, we could do this in England. England, the government takes care of the residential and the multifamily, but the commercial is just up to where it is. And what was happening was the EU was ratcheting up the landfill prices. It was in the $100 a ton. It's more than that today. And so we designed what's called a resource recovery park with a circle concept. The idea is on the inside, you would bring in your 12 categories sorted, and there would be an area for reuse, and there'd be a store for sure, and a fixing area, and then a recycling area where we create uh, separate materials for pickup. You can see glass and paper and polymers all at the end, and then a composting area and a soil production area, and a building materials area where we'd have ceramics being ground up for aggregate. And in the middle would be a center for education and classrooms. And then on the outside, the trucks would pick up the finished material, and on the inside, individuals, so they would never have a traffic issue of big trucks and small trucks running into each other. This was presented through DEFRA up in East Anglia, Norwich and Waveney area, and a lot of it inspired the way they were going to handle their reuse and recycling centers in the future. But one that did get built was in El Cerrito, California, and you can see the circle design. On the outside is the finished product. On the inside, you can see the cars dumping their materials into containers that are going to be recycled. There are also area for reusable materials and household hazardous waste. It's seen as one of the, it's really a diamond in one of our presentations in terms of what these materials can look at and how they can be functional within your group. So that's the story on zero waste infrastructure. I hope I was able to communicate with you on this, and if there's any questions, I'm now open.
Our next speaker will be me, Ruth Abbey from Zero Waste USA. I've been working with communities in zero waste for the last 25 years and supporting them on their journey towards zero waste. My talk will be about the zero waste physical and social infrastructure.
Good morning. Our topic today is zero waste infrastructure, and I'm going to be talking about zero waste physical infrastructure and social infrastructure. I'm Ruth Abbey, and I am president of Zero Waste USA, and I'm delighted to be on this panel this morning. A reminder about zero waste. So what is zero waste? Zero waste recognizes that waste is not inevitable. Discarded materials are potentially valuable resources. It goes beyond the end of the pipe kind of strategies, take, make, waste, and it maximizes reuse, recycling, and composting, reduces consumption, and most importantly, designs waste out of the system. The internationally peer-reviewed definition of zero waste can be found on the Zero Waste International Alliance website, and it is the conservation of all resources by means of responsible production, consumption, reuse, and recovery of products, packaging, and materials without burning and with no discharges to land, water, or air that threaten the environment or human health. Zero waste is about the paradigm shift because recyclables used to be what we kept out of the trash. My dad picked up aluminum cans on the side of the road. He couldn't go by without picking one up. But now trash is what we have left over after we reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. My friend Heidi took a banana with her on a trip from San Francisco to Los Angeles for the day. And she ate the banana in Los Angeles, but there wasn't anywhere to compost the banana in Los Angeles at that time. So she put the banana peel back in her backpack and took it back to San Francisco to compost because she just did not feel right about putting that banana peel into the garbage. There are still some barriers to zero waste, what we call legacy discards that were designed for disposal or are mistakes. And this is a picture of the coffee capsules that they found in the landfill in Caponari in Italy. And these coffee capsules were not recyclable and they were not compostable because it was coffee enrobed in plastic. So Caponari, the city in Zero Waste Italy, worked with the manufacturer Lavazza to create a coffee capsule that was reusable and compostable. So those barriers to zero waste are out there, but we can fix some of those. So if you look at the composition of discarded materials, there are things that we call legacy discards designed for the landfill, including problem materials like those coffee capsules, or might be potentially divertible. But then we also have a lot of stuff that's still in the trash that represent mistakes, things that are divertible or compostable. Either they're recyclable or they're compostable, but they still end up in the trash. So if you look at what's in the trash, most of that stuff is recyclable, compostable, or potentially recyclable or compostable. And only a fraction, 30%, were designed for the dump. So let's talk a little bit about zero waste infrastructure. First, physical infrastructure. And then we'll talk about social infrastructure. So for the physical infrastructure, Rick spoke a lot about these ideas. We need universal access to recycling and composting collection, including residential, commercial, and industrial, and institutional and schools. All of the generators of potentially recyclable or compostable materials need to have services. And by and large, that means we need to provide collection services or drop-off centers for people to bring their recyclable or compostable materials. We also need processing capacity for recycling, food scraps, yard trimmings, and construction and demolition debris processing, because there's a lot of construction that goes on, and that material can also be beneficially reused or recycled. And we, as Rick told you, we need options for self-haul customers, people who bring their materials to a drop-off center. And those can be resource recovery parks for hard to recycle materials. And you'll hear about a model reuse and recycling park from Paul. Here's an example that you saw from Rick, the Resource Recovery Park in El Cerrito, California. And here is the reuse park in Göteborg in Sweden, which you'll hear more about from Paul. But some other examples of physical infrastructure. Here is the example in Milan, Italy, where over 90% of apartments are participating in compost collection. So residents collect the materials in their household. That was a beautiful fish dinner that were the bones left over. They bring the compostables down to the carts you can see in compostable plastic bags, and those are taken by the service provider and made into compost. Here's another example of closed circle composting in San Francisco, California, where you can see at restaurants where compostable materials, food scraps are generated, they're collected, and then brought to the composting facility where they are composted and made into a rich soil amendment. And that rich soil amendment is put on crops in the fields and on wineries and vineyards to create beautiful, these happen to be tomatoes, but also wine grapes or other food crops. So those get sold back to the restaurants, and that circle continues. Here's an example of deconstruction and building material reuse in Seattle, Washington. We have some redevelopment all over the world where buildings are put up and buildings are taken down. They can be, and a lot of that material can be reused through deconstruction, where construction crews take down the light fixtures, take the good hard wood, all the metal pipes and other things, and those can be beneficially reused and made into constructed into new uses or recycled. So now I'm going to talk to you about the social infrastructure of zero waste. And it includes things like aligning the goals between the local governments, the generators of the recyclable or compostable or reusable materials, and the service providers, the people that do the collection and processing of the materials. All of those stakeholders need to agree in order to have aligned goals. And so we need to work together to come up with the solutions for zero waste. We can create incentives through rate structures that emphasize recycling and composting and provide a penalty for wasting. And we should do community approaches where we seek input from the community to design programs and facilities that meet the needs of the local residents and businesses. We work on new rules and mandates in zero waste, things like universal recycling or single-use plastic bans. And we work to change the culture through outreach and technical assistance. And here is a picture of Miss Alameda, who ran for Miss California, and she is now an inspiration to help people compost in her hometown of Alameda. So she works with businesses and school districts to help them recycle and compost. Here's an example of social marketing in Alameda. This is up in the corner. You can see the Tree Musketeers, and these are young children at Bay Farm School in Alameda who really care about the earth and are part of the green team to help the school recycle and compost. And then you can see a picture of my nieces, Greta and Vera, who help Miss Alameda with her Miss Alameda Says Compost restaurant program, helping the restaurants in Alameda recycle and compost. Here's an example of green ribbon schools in Castro Valley, California, where all of the schools have recycled a very high diversion rate. You can see 86%, 75%, 82%, a really amazing achievement. And I asked a principal there one time, how did you get your school to get to 88, 90%? And he said, it's just about setting expectations. We can all recycle and compost. We have the infrastructure. We have the physical infrastructure already. We just needed to set the expectations that there is the social infrastructure that people will recycle and compost appropriately. Here's an example in Austin, Texas, where the community comes together to celebrate the trash collectors, the recyclable and compostable and trash service providers, the people who drive the trucks and come to our households and businesses every day to help us recycle and compost. So they have performed a ballet called Trash Dance. And it really is an amazing sight to see all of these burly, mostly guys, driving their trucks and showing their carts and really celebrating their work and respecting that they are really contributing to the importance of changing the culture in our environment and creating awareness for reduce, reuse, and recycling. Also in Austin, they have an online TV show called Dare to Go Zero, where 5 families competed to see how much they could learn about recycling and composting and reducing and reusing to reduce the amount of trash that they created. So if we go online at City of Austin in Texas, you can see this amazing TV show that was produced locally and hosted by one of the trash collectors. Here's an example of creating awareness about what we discard in San Francisco, California. Recology has an artist in residency program where they actually support artists to have studios at the transfer station. And these artists have access to all of the materials that people discard. And you would be amazed at what people throw away. And they are able to look through the materials, pick out what they want, and create beautiful artwork with them. And this, they promote their program by holding open houses, wine and cheese receptions, and also host school children on tours. Here's a picture of some of their work. You can see their studio at the top and at the bottom, and some of their creations. In Oakland, they are creating opportunity to create awareness by going door to door and helping the multifamily residents recycle and compost. So in this program, the recycling workers and the volunteers work together, going door to door, passing out the compost pails to residents and telling them about how to compost appropriately. So you would be amazed how how much people appreciate actually hearing from people who speak their own language. They had multiple language spoken to explain to them how to recycle and compost. Zero waste events are another way to help culture change by demonstrating to people at public events how they can recycle and compost appropriately. This is an example of zero waste events in Kauai in Hawaii, where they have the recycling stations where they have recycling, compost, and trash collections. And they teach everyone, if you have questions about what goes in the recycling, what goes in the compost, they have trash talkers there who can tell them how best to recycle and compost. In Caponari in Italy, they have the Zero Waste Research Center, and they were the ones who worked on the coffee capsules with Lavazia. And here is a picture of Rossano Hercolini. He was awarded the Goldman Prize. And the Goldman Prize is the Green Nobel Prize. And that's President Barack Obama in the US congratulating Rossano on his award. But he is the founder of Zero Waste Italy, and he created the Zero Waste Research Center to really understand what's left over in the trash and how to design it out of the system. Here's a picture of that Lavazia coffee capsules that we talked about. Here's another example of just bad design. Did you ever think that a banana needed to be wrapped up in plastic? Bananas already come with a banana peel that protects them from rotting. And so this was an example of from the People's Design Lab in Wales, where they identified really bad products and packaging to expose how we can do better. So this example was from a supermarket that then changed their approach to how they distributed their bananas. And of course, we want to make sure that in the social infrastructure of zero waste, we get community buy-in. We also need political buy-in, particularly from leaders in government. So here is political support that you can see the mayors of Los Angeles and San Jose and San Francisco, who all promoted zero waste. Those cities all declared a goal of zero waste, and the mayors took the initiative in really giving the political support for zero waste, because it takes everyone together to get to zero, including the residents, the businesses, the school children, the elected officials, the government workers, the folks that drive our recycling, compost, and trash trucks. Everyone together can make zero. So if you would like to know more about Zero Waste USA, please visit our website, zerowasteusa.org, or the Zero Waste International Alliance at ZWIA.org. And if you're not for zero waste, how much waste are you for? Thanks so much.
Our next speaker will be Paul Martinson from the Zero Waste International Alliance. Paul has over 20 years of experience in waste management and was the founder of the Reuse Park in Gothenburg, Sweden. He will talk to you about all the features of the park and will inspire you to create one in your own backyard.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Martinsson. I'm from Gothenburg, Sweden, and I'm working for the Zero Waste organization and for the Let's Do It network, which is a cleaning organization. I am the coordinator and the director for Oceania when it comes to the Let's Do It cleanup organization. So I work a lot with Asia and Australia and New Zealand. And when it comes to the zero waste movement, I work all over the world. Today, I want to give you just a short introduction for zero waste, what it is and how we look at it from the zero waste movement. And then I want to talk to you about the reusing and recycle park, which I created in Sweden a few years ago, the whole idea about it and how it has been the model for many other parks around the world. So let's start here. You can see my name. I am in a hashtag like you all are, and you can see some of the hashtags we are using and also the different social media. If you wonder about Kuni Yushibu, that hashtag, that is my Amazon Indian name when I was living with the Indian tribe in Amazon, where we were doing a great zero waste job because they have a problem in the deepest Amazon also with waste. So let's see. Zero waste is a journey. It takes time, but the good thing about it is that it is a broad church. Everybody can be on board on the road for zero waste. And it is a vision. It's not anything that you can say, okay, now we're going to do zero waste and then you have it on the ground or the table tomorrow. It takes time, you know. It is a long journey, and maybe we're never going to get down to real zero waste, but we're going to get very, very close. And also that we do not accept any incineration or any landfill, because we need to take care about everything in one way or another. Maybe you've seen this picture before. This guy, he's going to his job every morning out in the river with his little boat. But if you look in the boat, you see there is only a plastic straw. That is what he's collecting. He's collecting plastic straw every day, and then he tries to bale them and sell them and get money. And this river, is, as you can see, is full of plastic. So for the zero waste movement, it's all about that you need to sort, divide, never mix it, and get the organics out. If you do that, you have clean waste in a very different way instead of having mixed waste. Organics goes for composting, and the rest of the stuff we take care of in different ways, recycling or reusing or whatever we do. But never mix, that is the main thing. So you need to have a system that works, and you have to do it on a personal level also at home. Start at home to do the sorting. We don't accept burning, it means incineration. We don't accept bury, it means landfill, because we should take care of everything in best possible way. And if you cannot take care of a product, it should be redesigned. That is the most important R we have in the zero waste movement. Redesign a product if we can't take care of it. Because if we cannot take care of it, then we have a problem. So avoid this problem by sending a message to the industry: we cannot take care of it, we need to redesign this product. And it works. It's not only about transforming cities or communities, it's also about transforming the mind of people and people as a general. This is a picture from Manila, where they were throwing a lot of waste and garbage all over. And you could see that the municipality also put out some bins there. But some people decided we need to do something about it. We cannot have it like this. We cannot live like this. So they started to work with it, and they work with the community, and they start also by using a zero waste concept. So they turned all these sites into a garden. And today, it is an eco park, and as you can see, it says material recovery facility, and that is what they call in the Philippines for MRF, which they should have in every barangay. And this is what they did in this place. This is the same street, but they cleaned up and they turned it into an eco park, and they are now selling plants, and it is a beautiful place to walk there, and people love to be there also, and they take care of waste in a proper way. So that was a little bit about the zero waste movement. I've been working for the city of Gothenburg in Sweden for many years, and we had a problem, as many other countries and cities around the world, that we have a lot of bulky waste that goes for different recycle centers and different recycling containers for recycling this material. And a lot of the goods that we were working with were, of course, could live much longer. We could use it, and that is the old type of taking care of different materials is to reuse it. That's what we've been doing for hundreds of years, but we almost forgot it in the Western world especially. So why should we then have a recycle and reusing park? Yes, because of the reason that we have so many things we are throwing in the containers in Sweden that are usable and we can reuse them. So we decided to build this recycle park, and we started with creating a logo and a name, and then we had an introduction concept, which was that the Gothenburgers, it means the people who are living in Gothenburg, they will have a new amusement park for recyclers and reusers. And it was very important for us that we had amusement, because it was the idea of having a park that was able for anybody to come to do stuff there, not only through waste. You can do other stuff also, which I will show you. This is a picture of a more standard recycle center where people come because they need to bring their own bulky waste when they have been doing a garage cleaning or whatever they have, be a lot of garden waste or any different kind. They come to a recycle center with a car or a trailer or truck or whatever they have, and they sort into different fractions, up to 15, 20 different fractions, and all goes for recycling or for incineration. So this was the idea that these containers were full of valuable stuff that could be reused. So the idea we had was to build a huge park. And the red square you see up to the left here, that is the old type of recycle center. The rest is different department store where we are selling stuff that we're taking from these people who try to put it in containers, or we didn't take it, actually they donated it to us. And I will show you what it looks like. So you come and you follow these blue arrows, and then you come into the big heart in the sorting station, the most important place with everybody who wants to throw anything in the recycling center has to pass this sorting station. It's started 2007. The area is 30,000 square meters, and the total cost of building everything was $4 million. And we were seeing a lot of buildings that were rebuilt, so we reused, just to be the good example. So if we take off the lift, we make a lift roof of this sorting station, you can see what it looks like. There is an entrance where all the car has to come in, and we have staff meeting up, asking and talking to everybody. You cannot pass there without talking to the staff. And then we try to take out everything that is hazardous stuff, and we take out the electronics. And then we ask people, do you have anything that you want to donate? You can do it over on this side. We have different stuff here. And we help you to unload your truck, you know, if you have a chair or a sofa or a stove or whatever it is, you know, that we think we can use as a donation from you, and then we bring it into our shops in the area here and we will sell it. And the people that don't even know if they have something that is valuable, or if they have something they want to donate, but we start to help them and look through the trailer or the truck. We find a lot of stuff, you know, and they say, oh yeah, if you want it, you can have it. So everybody was donating the stuff. And the blue square here is one of the players in the park, which is a second-hand shop, which is run by the Swedish Church, which is an organization that is very well known in Sweden, called Stadsmissionen, and they are helping needy people all over the country. And they are selling different kind of second-hand products in their shop. You know, it was all the kind of furniture, textile, rugs, and so on, and more fashion stuff also. And all the things you see here are stuff that are donated. So the shops get all the material for free. They maybe have to organize it a little bit and clean it a little bit and so on, because that is very important, that everything looks fresh, nice and fresh, so people don't think they're coming into a dump store or whatever. So if it looks nice and fresh, people also buy the stuff. So you can see this is really cool when they display it this way, and people can go here and see what they find that could be useful, and what they want to bring back home and buy. A lot of retro stuff, of course, is popular also. The next blue square is the biggest player in the park. It is called Återbruket, and this is recycling and reusing of construction materials. For the typical house owner loves to go here and to find whatever they need. And we also have all the office equipment when it comes to furnitures. But for the house owner to go here and to find doors or cabinets or whatever it is, it's very, very popular. And here is also a few interior pictures from Återbruket. And you can also see on the right corner, we have our car that was going around the city to pick up stuff from the other recycle centers also, where people can donate in a container. We only have one recycle park, but also that we can go home to people and help and get donation that are valuable for us to bring into the different stores. The third player is called Returhuset, and they have workshops, and they have repair shops and fix-it shops. So they are repairing things, and this is also a project where we have work training for people who have different reasons and for not coming into the ordinary working market. And we are helping them here for work training, and they are repairing, in this case, bicycles and all the different of garden machineries. They are repairing doors, windows, and so on. And it's have about 15 people working there, and they are staying there for 6 months or 1 year, depends on different things. And they also have a restaurant where you can drink coffee, have a sandwich, or you can eat lunch, and you can sit actually here in this big park and enjoy good food. You can eat everything that is served, supposed to be organic, and they are also growing a lot of the vegetables around in the park. So it is really a sustainable thinking about everything. And that house you see in the background is also a reused house that we rebuilt for the moment there. So a few facts from the park. When we opened up 2007, immediately we were actually in each shop was actually making money from day one. A lot of visitors came there, 300-400 a day. The total sale was 1.2 million. We created new jobs for 25 people. We have had, for the first years, we had 130 different guidings from different cities and municipalities in Sweden, and more than 50 different countries had visited the park. And we also give away compost, which we have a big composting plant also. We give away compost free to kids, you know, so they understand how it works with food waste and how it becomes soil and so on. And then they can get a bag of compost to bring home and plant some flowers and stuff. The idea with the whole thing was that we should influence people's behavior. And are we doing that? Yes, I'm sure we do, because many people, after they've been a few times in the park, they come just to start donating stuff, because, you know, we're living in a society where it's very, very high consumption in Sweden. People buy a lot of stuff, and they change whatever it is, especially when it comes to textiles and furnitures. So then they need to get rid of the old ones, and then they, instead of going for destruction, they donate it to us, because that is really important, that people feel good and happy to donate things. We all do that. We love to donate stuff and see that other people can use it. So it has a huge impact in that influence also. And we also, since we are asking everybody when they come into the sorting station, we talk to people, we are nice to them, we are helping them, and we educate them by learning by doing. You can put these stuff over here, this one you can donate, and so on. And then people start thinking themselves, before next time they go to the recycle center or they go to the recycle park, oh, we bring this one we can donate, and so on. So we are influencing people, that's for sure. If you want to build something similar to this, you have to be cooperating with several entities. That is necessary, I think. And you should also, of course, have strong local partners, which we then had with Återbruket and Stadsmissionen, because famous and stable, strong trademarks is good for the business, and people will have confidence in shopping there. Make it green and clean, a real nice park feeling. People should not feel that they are at the dump. They should feel that they are in a modern reusing and recycling park. And maintain high quality with anything you do there. When it comes to the staff or the material, anything, high quality. Educate the staff. Try to smile and love your job was my mantra to everybody's working there. You must love your work. You must be smiling when people are coming to the sorting station. Always say to them, welcome, and so on. You know, start communicating with them, and you have a big smile. You have almost all the job done from the beginning. These are just a few pictures of all these things that people are donating, and we are taking small amounts of stuff. You know, it could be a few tiles and so on, but we have many customers. So if, you know, someone leave 5 tiles and the next one 10 or 15, so we are building up a big stock by taking small quantities and then buy it. We also collect special scrap, all the metal, as everybody who's in the recycle business knows has a big value. So we also take care of all the scrap we have there and metals and stuff. And here are some other pictures from the area. You can see the tiles are piling up, you know, piece by piece. And another mantra I had was that there is always a buyer out there somewhere. Just bring him in, and when he's in, we sell to him and he will buy it and be happy because he get a really good price for a good product. And we prolong the life of all the things that we are selling, which is important to keep the stuff in the loop as long as possible, because it means that we don't need to bring out any new virgin resources to produce stuff that we already have in the loop. A few other pictures from the area, and all the electric stuff, for example, and all the windows and all this stuff, they are tested, so they are working, they are in good condition, and we also leave guarantee so people feel safe when they are buying this stuff. And when it comes to the staff, as I said, they should have a smile and they should have knowledge about everything. You know, when you go to a gym, you can ask for a personal trainer. We had a personal sorter. So if you don't know how to sort, you could say, I want a personal sorter to help me. So then it means that this person is follow you through the whole process and help you how to sort. And in that case, we also, of course, educate people. We have a lot of activities. We had a dog that could sort into 6 different fractions, which was very popular. When people come and families come into the sorting station, we could have a quiz so they can win different things. All these kind of activities, you know, just to keep people in good mood and try to make them understand the whole process, how it works. This is, for example, our guest toilet, which I turned into art exhibition because, you know, people are stressed today. The only place where they sit still for a while is in the toilet. And then they can watch some good art. Each painting has a price tag, so you could just lift it down from the wall and go out and pay. And while you've been on the toilet, you also buy some art, which is good for your brain, you know. We all love art, of course. This is some other activities we have in the park, you know, for children. We have different activities. We had a clown there. And when we had these different activities, you know, the parking space was full and the streets outside was full of cars because it comes, hundreds of people come there. So all these different activities was also, of course, an idea that people should come to this amusement park, and it was not a regular recycle center. You can do a lot of different things here. You can eat, you can donate, and you can buy stuff. Some other pictures, you know, all kind of people, young girls coming to buy retro textile stuff, you know. We had educational program for staff. We are working together with jails to have people with electronic chain working there. They're on the way out into society, and we help them to work maybe for 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And in the work training program and so on. So we have where you buy a ticket by leaving waste. You could come with like 20 PET bottles or 2 kilos of cardboard or 5 kilos of textile, and you leave it and you got it, and then you could enter the concert, just to empower people and understand that waste has a value. So this was the rock concert we had with 6 different bands playing almost the whole night, and we got a lot of sponsors there also. It was a great success and a good activity we had actually, because that brought a lot of young people there also, and teenagers come to look. And we be also being the role model for many, many new new facilities all over Sweden and in the world. This is one from Eskilstuna, which is a beautiful place they built up called Retuna. Big, much bigger place than ours when it comes to shops and taking care of stuff there. It's called Retuna. You can Google it and see. It's a fantastic, nice place. But we were the model for this. This opened a couple of years ago. We've been in the market for 13 years now. And the government also will help us. The Swedish government tells us we have some tax deduction if we're repairing things. We have reusing centers in many places in Sweden now. And of course, like everybody else, we have electric cars. And then we have also some kind of deduction for free parking and no tolls when they go into city and so on. So they try to help us to be a little bit greener and more sustainable with different in law enforcement and so on. For me, it was not only about breaking laws, because we all need an injection. All of us need an injection. Maybe not of this consumption culture we have, but we need a big injection of awareness. And that's something we all should have. Because if we can raise the awareness amongst ourselves and amongst other people, we will have a much better society coming, that's for sure. And accept not only awareness, but we also need action. We need people that are working. We need people that engage other people. We need to have really good drivers of different quality to make things happen. So for me, it's important, if you have an idea, just go for it. Never give up. Whatever they say, don't take a no. Try to fight for your idea as much as you can. That is my final advice, except for this one, which is my favorite, when they say that a lot of people die at 25 years, but they're not buried until they are 85. Life is so short, so let's take care of it. Let's do the best of it. Let's be active as long as we can, as long as we have deer. Participate in a cleanup, participate in whatever, keep yourself active. Don't be one of these people who lay off life when you're 25. Come on, let's do it now. Remember one thing, my last word. If this hashtag is, if you refuse to reuse, it is our planet you abuse. So, thank you very much for listening to this. And if you have any questions, you can send them to me here. And we're also going to have a question and answer during the conference. But this is my social media stuff I'm doing for the Zero Waste. And you're welcome to contact me also. And I love to answer your question and help you whatever you need with. And thank you once again for inviting me. And I will show you my super nice sign, which I've been having now for 8 years, which is a piece of cardboard. And to all you people out there that are working for the environment, for the globe, helping people, whatever you're doing, I must say, this is the message that is really important, that we love your job, whatever you are doing. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Dr. Murali Krishna Iyanki. He is a researcher and principal consultant and former Dr. Raja Ramana DRDO Distinguished Fellow. He's an adjunct faculty member at AIT Bangkok and a professional faculty member at Berkeley Global Program for Innovation. He will be speaking on e-waste management and ICT application challenges.
Greetings to all. Welcome to the delegates of the event on water and waste management. And as a part of ICT applications to various verticals like agriculture, health, energy, and environment. Research programs are being carried out specifically on issues related to ICT applications. And I take this opportunity of our recent analysis of the state of the art, including our own initiatives reference to the applications of IoT sensors and blockchain technologies. So, considering these issues, my talk is on e-waste management and ICT application challenges and operational needs, an Indian exploratory analysis. We're all familiar with the growth in the IT and communication sectors has enhanced the use of the electronic equipment exponentially, and management of these is the products coming as waste out of this electronic equipment has become a very, very gigantic task. So management of e-waste essentially it includes collection, segregation, and recycling of the discarded devices, such in an environmentally friendly manner. You are all familiar, there are international treaties like Basel Convention, which aim at reducing and regulating the movement of hazardous waste between the nations also. Even with this convention, illegal shipment and dumping of the e-waste continue to take place. And it is estimated that about 50 million tons of per annum of e-waste is being generated globally. Considering these issues, India ranks amongst the 177th position out of the 180 countries. And based on the report by the World Economic Forum, also India is ranked fifth in the world amongst the top e-waste producing countries after USA, Japan, China, and Germany. And these are all significant contributions they are all making. So in India, e-waste collection, transportation, processing, and recycling is dominated by the mostly very informal sector. The sector is well represented, well networked, and unregulated. One of the examples is the Silampur at Delhi, which is a major e-waste dismantling center, and people spend anything about 8 to 10 hours of time there. E-waste is we all know e-waste is a rich source of particularly metals like silver, to some extent gold, and copper, which can be recovered and brought back into the production cycle. There is significant economic potential in the efficient recovery of these things. And processes such as dismantling the components, something like wet chemical processing or the incineration, are being used to dispose the waste, and also these results in some sort of a dangerous and harmful chemicals, in fact, impact the people who are operating these things. So, coming to the specific issue of application of the ICT technologies, adopting the ICT for e-waste management required some specifically the involvement of several enabling communication technologies. And out of that, the IoT plays a very significant role. Internet of Things, it is all as is known to all, is essentially interconnection of the very sensing and triggering devices which provide the ability to share information across a platforms through a unified framework, developing a common operating procedure for enabling something like innovative applications. Here, the base idea of IoT is the interaction, is the interaction of variety of smart things or objects such as the RFID, the radio frequency identification tag, or other something like sensors, actuators, mobile phones, etc. Through these unique addressing schemes, they all reach specifically very important stage. And currently, the potential of the IoT in waste management is essentially drawing some sort of a specific attention, and a lot of literature also developments in other places in the world also focus on smart waste collection. In the context of the e-waste management, specifically the information on the connected electric electronic devices is to be collected, is gathered, and is essentially used, administered through IoT and cloud-based IoT devices, where some sort of a recovery or recycle capabilities are integrated in one way or other. Essentially, IoT also is applicable for both production and disposing of the e-waste. That is one of the important issues. This enables specifically the administrative authorities of different levels at different levels to monitor the actual situation and dynamic changes in the various processes. See, the RFID, the radio frequency identification device, is a key element, and because it consists of essentially of readers and the tags based on which the electromagnetic fields, the RFID is able to identify and track anything with RFID tags attached to them. These tags are contain electronically stored information and have three types of active, passive, and battery assisted devices. And it is suitable for technique, suitable for what you call tagging any type of e-waste product. The other one is the wireless sensor network. It is also another key element of IoT, which is defined as a network of spatially distributed autonomous sensors for monitoring physical and environmental conditions. That is one of the very, very significant issues. While talking about these issues, where we stand, see, essentially, the administrators, the researchers, the designers, and other practitioners are benefited from the application of the specifically IoT as it is happening in various other verticals. And e-waste management is no exception. Considering these issues, some sort of a framework for implementation is to be um, consisting of the big data issues, because the amount of data that is collected starting from the production to the extent of dismantling is enormous, and the framework essentially can be divided into three major layers. One is data acquisition. Essentially, these are all for big electronic e-waste management. Big data acquisition, big data processing, and big data utilization. These form the very, very significant issues. While a technology platform is now we're talking about platforms in every sector, and a technology platform will enable to link the market so that a circular economy can be encouraged to correctly dispose of the electronic waste with increased reuse and recycling rates and adopt sustainable consumer habits. That is one of the most important issues. And there are many approaches have been proposed to optimize waste management, such as using the nearest neighbors, etc. Considering these issues, where we are going is one important issue, particularly with reference to the application of the tools of data analytics like algorithms, genetic algorithms, particle swarm optimization, etc. These are all some of these things are still the results are too vague and cannot be applied in real systems today. A lot of work is to be done. That is the effort we are trying to make at this particular point of the time. Machine learning provides effective solutions such as regression, classification, etc. And this is one of the important issues where some sort of a measurable characteristics usually characterize the sample data, and the machine learning algorithms attempt to find the correlations between the features and the output values. And these, as I was telling, the types of correlations, the prescriptions, the predictions require a lot of data, and these models are being worked out, and still we cannot say we have got um, essentially an operational implementable model under all circumstances. There are specific cases, successful cases, both in India, I'm also quoting some of them, both in India and abroad, where the IoT, ICT tools are significantly applied for all processes related to the e-waste management. Essentially, regression, we are all familiar. It is a mathematical model which can represent or recognize the connection between two or more variables. The other one is a logistic regression. It is also a kind of regression used to explain the connection between a dependent variable and one or more and independent variable. Essentially, these things happen very, very significantly because IoT devices connect not the data and also transfer the other devices, and also they should be self-sufficient. So this is a waste management system using IoT-based machine learning should consider more variable tasks in the context of what has been mentioned just now for the prediction or prescription. And this particularly is a recent study by a Finland company on artificial intelligence for smart recycling. This is specifically not e-waste. This is for general garbage and disposal. And combining computer vision, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, here the robots can are synchronized, and some sort of a um, sorting and picking the recycled material from starting from taking the material from some sort of a conveyor belt to the point where it is, I mean, what you call as disposed of, is specifically analyzed in various capacities. So, considering these issues, now the we are all familiar with most of the people are familiar with disposing of the waste. One is landfill sites, the other one is incinerators, and recycling of waste from electronic and electrical devices, etc. They're all things I don't need to spend any time on this particular um, slide. While talking about what are the initiatives for e-waste management. So extended producer responsibility and design for environment, reduce, reuse, recycle are the three uh, issues for linking various processes. In developing countries, the e-waste management is given high priority, while in in developed countries, these are given already a high priority, whereas in developing countries, it is some sort of a being applied, being utilized, being thought about it, some sort of a completely adopting or replicating the e-waste management of developed countries, and several related problems are being applied. See, the rate at which the e-waste volume is increasing globally is almost, I think it is about 5 to 10% yearly. Particularly in India, the volume of e-waste generated was about 150,000 tons per year. And Switzerland, if you look into what happened abroad in foreign countries, Switzerland is the country in the world to establish and implemented a formal e-waste management that can recycle almost, I think it is about 10 to 11 kgs per head per capita of e-waste against the target of 4 kgs, which originally they wanted to do it, which is this target has been put forward by the European Union. India is ranked in the world amongst the top e-waste producing countries after USA, Japan, China, and Germany. So ultimately, where these things could help, the extended producer responsibility, that means the producer, manufacturer is responsible, and reduce, reuse, and recycle. So, the one aspect that need to be taken in consideration, and design for environment. These are the three initiatives found to be very, very successful issues. So, what is the scope of e-waste management in India? Essentially, the scope of the e-waste management in India is the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India has passed a rule in 2016, a law rule to reduce e-waste production significantly and increase recycling. Under these rules, the government introduced what is called as the EPR, that is extended produce responsibility. That's what I was just telling just now. So these things considering very, very important with various issues. So the other one is establishment of the startups, because there is a lot of opportunity for the business in e-waste recycling. So establishment of startups connected with US recycling and disposal should be encouraged by giving some sort of a special concessions. The unorganized sector has a well-established collection network. That is one of the positive aspects here. But it is capital intensive in case of organized sector. So therefore, if both the sectors, like the unorganized and organized, can coordinate and work in a harmonious manner, the materials collected by the unorganized sector may be handed over to the organized sector to be processed in an environmentally friendly manner. In this kind of scenario, the government has a great role, and government should play a crucial role between the two sectors for some processing the e-waste. Ultimately, people can get confused as to where to dump the waste because they are not sure of the actual material of the pack material that is contained. And this is where the tools of artificial intelligence come into the picture. Essentially, this is where because to improve the waste collection planning, individuals some sort of take a photograph and upload the image, and this could be solved. So applying the tools of the machine learning, deep learning, including convolution neural network, etc. While doing these issues, what are the important things that need to be addressed is to identify the, the specific products that are taken for recycling is one important issue. At this stage, can we think of some sort of a business model? A business model essentially makes very, very significant application, as we were talking earlier, because it significantly influences both the economic, environmental, social, as well as the health benefits, and the proposed business model would be help the public in a very, and also the private sectors in a significant manner. While doing these issues, what are the things that could be done? Implications of the data analytics, data volume and velocity. And we're all familiar how many people are using the mobile phone. More than 6 billion as per the um, information that is provided on the website. I could see 6 billion people are using the mobile phones, and the complexity of the e-waste, because different types of products, components, materials, they're all involved. And concerning the recycling and recovery, the diversity in the composition of the electronic components, it's because the CRT is replaced with LCD due to less heavy metal content and slimmer size. So these are the issues that could be addressed in one way or other. E-waste is categorized into 5 groups, as you are seeing: ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, glass, plastic, and others. So I'll skip this particular information, because while most important thing is what are the issues that need to be addressed. One is the which has got, what are the stages of e-waste that have got scope for ICT investment, intervention. Basically, manufacturing of the product, the collection, the segregation, the transportation, processing, disposal, and incineration. These are all got one way or other specific information, and these at this stage, AI is artificial intelligence is the new savior of e-waste management. That's what we could see here, and as you see, there are several ways of doing it using the electronic bins and classified at the source itself, the plastic materials, biodegradable and e-waste. And if everything is dumped into one waste, sorting of recycling can be some sort of a difficult task. But this sort of division helps a lot. And these things provided with some sort of a sensors can help you in various ways, including the volume of the waste that is stored, the place it is stored, and the readiness for disposal to a central server where all the data is collected. While doing these things, so essentially the waste management process involves various types of what I was telling just now is segregation, that is very important, transportation, recycling, disposal, and analysis of waste data. Governments are not able to crack these three waste management steps for various reasons, both technical, economical, and motivated reasons. Basically, because some sort of a what you call as here having a single platform for both segregation, tracking, and securing the data transactions is very important. And this is where the wonderful tool of the blockchain technology. And blockchain can be a single decentralized platform, and blockchain can based technology waste management is helping um, many private industries to trace the waste and its production and disposal, regarding waste segregation or waste tracking, are they securing the data transaction. That is one of the very, very significant issues that has taken place over a period of the time. Essentially, where we are going and how we address is a very, very important issue. See, we are all familiar. India ranks in the world in terms of high quality research publications in artificial intelligence. However, currently, the implementation of the AI tools or the data analytics tool, including machine learning or the blockchain tools in e-waste management, is not there on a large scale, and automating the process of sorting and disposal using AI and machine learning would help in handling e-waste more effectively. So essentially, now our lack of initiative. That's what I was just telling. It is need of the hour to reduce, reuse, and recycle the waste. India now has about 200 registered e-waste recyclers in one way or other, but many of them are not recycling waste at all. So how do we address the tools of ICT, including AI and electronic waste management, and using blockchain-based smart solutions, smart contracts rather, is one way it is helping. So blockchain technology enables us to write what you call as smart contracts, and smart contracts are the self executing computer codes that take specified actions. That is one of the very positive, very significant, tangible benefit of application of these tools. And these will enable the government to regulate e-waste collection specifically, and also recycling. So it will also reduce the one way is the imbalance between the organized and unorganized sectors involved in waste management. So ultimately, however we use these things, basically there are some obvious economical, technological, and operational challenges in implementing IoT and AI methods. These are basically related to what you call as the economics, that is cost, software, and also the infrastructure. So we need to think about handling the e-waste is hardware resultant of technology development, and has great scope for ICT to address the major task, e-waste management. So that means we cannot solve the problem by using the same methods which we created them. So that is what exactly ICT has got a greatest significance, utility, and economic value on larger scale to handle one of the major environmental problems that is causing major harm to humanity. Thank you very much.